Subriel Matias and spoil the big contract that he signed with Matchroom Boxing. You already know he lost, so they voided the contract, and Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing kicked him out. Um,
Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. I just had to clarify a couple of things. I just feel that I had to start the video with Punch Drunk because Punch Drunk has been saying some outlandish, uninformative stuff. Recently, that's the recent absurd comments that he made without any facts, without any facts, any foundation of what he was saying. He doesn't seek the truth. He speaks randomly and outlandishly, but he doesn't speak with facts. That he doesn't have any factual base. His comments are not based on facts. They're actually based on hearsay and what he doesn't really look into. Because if you look at what he said, if you see what he said that Subriel Matias signed a contract with Eddie Hearn's Matchroom. He never signed a contract. He didn't do his due diligence to find out the actual facts, the documented facts, the proof that Subriel Matias never signed to Eddie Hearn's in any way or any form. The only thing that they did, he signed a fight-by-fight basis with his promotion, Fresh Production Boxing, which he has an exclusive deal with, and he never signed to any other promotional company. And this can be proven in many statements that Subriel Matias has said, and Juan Durango, who is the CEO of Fresh Production Boxing of Puerto Rico. Subriel Matias never signed to Eddie Hearn's Matchroom. It was the fight with Liam Paro was done through his promotion, Fresh Production Boxing, on a fight-by-fight basis to fight one of Eddie Hearn's fighters from Matchroom. But the fight that he took with Liam Paro, it wasn't a contract, an exclusive contract. It was a fight-by-fight basis deal, which means that Subriel Matias, based on what he said as well, was always exclusively signed to Fresh Production Boxing. He was never signed with Eddie Hearn's Matchroom, and Eddie Hearn's Matchroom never kicked him out of the contract. I think that when you speak about things like that with details that have to do with signing contract, you have to do your due diligence and make sure that you get all your facts correct before you actually blurt out absurd, foolish comments like the way Punch Drunk has just said in that video. I think Punch Drunk is a clown. He only talks about the Subriel Matias versus Dalton Smith fight when there's something negative to talk about. And that's exactly what he did. Because up until this point, before we found out about any negative results with Subriel Matias testing positive for, well, not testing positive, when before Subriel Matias tested positive on anything with enhancing performance drugs, he never talked about anything about the fight between Dalton Smith and Subriel Matias. That is Punch Drunk. Punch Drunk has never mentioned anything about the Dalton Smith versus Subriel Matias fight. And up until he found out that Matias tested positive for an enhancing performance drug, which Subriel Matias delivered adverse analytical finding for performance enhancing drugs, Astarine. It was the same performance drug that Ryan Garcia was caught with when he fought, after he actually fought Devin Haney. And we know what happened there. They suspended Ryan Garcia, I think, for like a year. So Matias' WBC welterweight title defense is in jeopardy for January 10th. But they're giving Subriel Matias a chance to deliver his B results of his blood work. So if it comes out negative, then the fight could still go on. But the thing is, we don't know what's gonna happen with that fight. The A test came out positive, so he tested positive for Astarine, a performance enhancement drug, and we don't know how his testing is gonna come out within if they give him the opportunity, which they're gonna give him the opportunity. They're giving him a request within 10 days to request his B sample. And if his B sample comes out negative, he'll be exonerated and he'll be able to fight January 10th. And we don't know, but right now his promoter, Juan Durango, Fresh Production Boxing of Puerto Rico, are actually complying, and they're actually very willing and have expressed their full availability for the investigation process, and no further comments will be made until the process unfolds. And he has 10 days, Subriel Matias and his team, to get the results, to request the results for the B results of his blood test. And if it comes out negative, he'll be able to fight January 10th, and he'll be exonerated of all accusations. And if he comes out positive, then he will be possibly stripped of the WBC belt that he holds, and the fight it will possibly be made between Alberto Puello versus Dalton Smith. But I think the one that does deserve the fight is the fight in December 6th between Lamont Roach and Pitbull Cruz. The winner of that fight they're fighting for the interim WBC belt, and I think they will qualify more than Alberto Puello, between Alberto Puello and Dalton Smith. But Alberto Puello did want the rematch, but I know that Subriel Matias never denied giving him the rematch. It was just the WBC wanted the Dalton Smith fight because of Eddie Hearns, his connections. Dalton Smith doesn't really deserve a fight with Subriel Matias. Just because he has a padded record of unknown fighters doesn't mean he qualifies to fight Subriel Matias. But I think that right now they're in the investigation process, and I'm hoping that Subriel Matias comes out negative for the B samples of his blood work, so that way he could be exonerated. But if he was trying to get performance enhancing drugs, then he has to pay the consequences. That's just what it is. But I think Punch Drunk is really he's really punched in the head, and he needs to work on getting his facts together. And I always try to give him the benefit of the doubt, Punch Drunk, but a lot of times Punch Drunk, he always fails and falls short of getting his facts straight. And I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, and he always tends to come up with some stupid, idiotic comment, like saying that Eddie Hearns' Matchroom signed a deal with Subriel Matias, and then when Subriel Matias lost to Liam Pardo, that they kicked him out. That's a stupid, ignorant, uninformed statement, and I think Punch Drunk needs to get his head examined and needs to get his facts straight. And I think that, I always try to give him the benefit of the doubt because I respect all boxing content creators, but when you actually are not, I try to hold boxing content creators liable for what they say and hold them accountable. And I feel like Punch Drunk is definitely not informed, and he needs to do his homework when it comes to making foolish statements like the ones that he made in the introduction of my video. And I had to call it out. Not hating on Punch Drunk. I just feel like when you say the truth, speak the truth, the unadulterated truth. Don't speak the truth that you think is the truth, but it's not really concise and thoroughly reviewed. The facts are not thoroughly reviewed. You're just randomly saying idiotic statements, and you're very impulsive with your comments. You're not being observant of the facts and actually dissecting all the information before you actually put it out. You just want to get shock value to get people to subscribe to your channel. I get it, but don't say things that are really outlandish and uninformed with no factual basis. I feel like your comment is very stupid, and you need to get informed, Punch Drunk. And I'm speaking for all people that don't like when this guy speaks untruths, things that are not really factual. A lot of people are fed up with the way Punch Drunk says things without getting all his facts together before he actually puts the video together and put it out. Don't put outlandish information that's not based on facts. It's just based on your opinion. And before anything happened with Subriel Matias being tested positive for Ostarine, Punch Drunk never said anything about the fight between Dalton Smith versus Subriel Matias. He never mentioned the fight until he had something negative to talk about, because that's how he operates. He wants to hate on Subriel Matias. He wants to hate on Puerto Ricans. I know he's Dominican, and he says he got love for Puerto Ricans, but he always found a way to disrespect and undermine Subriel Matias at any opportunity given. And because he had a favorite fighter in Teofimo Lopez, he wanted to actually make Teofimo Lopez look like Teofimo Lopez was the one willing to fight Subriel Matias, when it wasn't like that. It was actually Subriel Matias that wanted to fight Teofimo Lopez, but Teofimo Lopez looked for every excuse, every reason to avoid a fight with Subriel Matias. And that's another thing that I think that, he basically said another idiotic comment and statement when he mentioned that Teofimo Lopez sent him a contract. Teofimo Lopez is not the boss of his career. The one that said that is the boss of his career was Top Rank, Bob Arum. So that was another comment that he made, not based on facts. Let me read the comments over here. Hopkins, number 1. Felix Tito Trinidad is always going to be better than Hopkins, because Hopkins needed to be, yes, he beat Felix Tito Trinidad, but at the same time, Felix Tito Trinidad moved up in weight to fight him, and he was very classless when he threw the Puerto Rican flag on the floor. So I think I give Hopkins credit for beating Trinidad, but you have to understand the way that Hopkins went about beating Trinidad was very classless. Hunter Gage Jordan. How you doing, my brother? Subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Yeah. All right, they got some crazy comments over here. Okay. So anyway, I don't want to read the crazy comments, but at the same time, I thank everybody for tuning into the channel. I'm waiting for my regulars to come. We got new people coming in as well. Subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. So that's what I have right now. And if you remember, not long ago, a while ago, a few years ago, Oscar Valdez tested positive through VADA, and then he did another test with WADA to fight Consensual, and the WADA testing, not the VADA, the WADA testing, he came out negative, so he was able to fight because they did the B samples of his blood with the WADA testing, so he was able to come out clean with that company, with WADA testing. The VADA testing, he came out positive. So I don't know what they're gonna do with Subriel Matias. If they're gonna do the same thing, they're gonna use WADA testing instead of VADA. I don't know. I'm really surprised because Subriel Matias is a clean fighter, but a lot of football players do that. They use performance enhancement drugs to give them endurance and to recuperate, because they play all year round. And it's the same thing with boxers. They box all year round. They don't play. But with boxing, it's not allowed. But in football, it's allowed. And I just feel that when it comes to the sport of boxing, it's a dangerous sport, and so is football. Football is very dangerous. But in boxing, they don't allow it, and the New York State Athletic Commission is very strict, and we don't know what is going to happen. They're investigating the actual testing of Subriel Matias, but I do believe that if Subriel Matias is guilty, then he should pay the consequences. But I'm hoping that he's not, and that his blood work comes out positive on the B side, and they're going to give him 10 days to request sample of the B side of his blood. And from what I understand, they actually test you on the. They do the test on the same day that they do the A test that he came out positive in. They do the B test the same day. So they probably most likely already have the results from both tests. So I think Subriel Matias should request the B test of his blood, because he might come out negative and clean, and he might be exonerated. And I believe that a lot of times when boxers, they train, they have nutritionists, and nutritionists actually provide nutrition for the boxers, but they also have to do their due diligence and find out what they can do and what they can't do when it comes to the VADA testing in being involved. And I don't know if they did their due diligence, or I don't know if, like in Canelo's case, they fought they found clenbuterol in his blood, and from what I understand, he was blaming the taco meat that he ate, And in Mexico, they do inject the cows with some injections of drugs, Plumbeterol, and that's what they found Canelo with, and they suspended Canelo as well, but it wasn't the same drug. The drug that they found Subriel Matias, they found in Subriel Matias' blood in his A blood work, they found Ostarine, which Ryan Garcia used against Devin Haney. But we'll see how it comes out within the 10 days request that they gave Subriel Matias. If he comes out positive or negative. If he comes out negative, and he'll be good to go and be able to fight January 10th and be exonerated of all charges. And they keep interrupting my flow over here. Tony, also subscribe to that channel. Tony, also subscribe to my channel. So subscribe to my boxing channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Yes, so that's what I got for now. And I believe that from what I heard from Eddie Hearns said that Dalton Smith is fuming. He's really upset about the results of Subriel Matias. He really wanted to fight, and the fight to take place. And Eddie Hearns, I think Eddie Hearns was definitely really throwing shade at Subriel Matias, and he said these people. He said, well, these people, if they're gonna pay for what they did. And he basically said, we lost the purse bid, but if they would have did the purse bid, they would have been able to have the testing. But I think they would have probably fined them, but they wouldn't not cancel the fight. That's I think he said something to that effect. I could be wrong, but right now it's a bad look because Subriel Matias did his boxing promotion from Puerto Rico. They made history in being the first Puerto Rican boxing promotion that actually beat an elite company like Matchroom from Eddie Hearns. So this taking place is a slap in the face to what they've already accomplished and all the strides that they made to get to this point, to be in control of the whole event, a Puerto Rican boxing promotion, Fresh Production Boxing, Juan Durango. So let's just hope that they win and they come out negative in the next blood work that they receive, the test of the batter from the B side of his blood, and let's just hope that everything works out and the fight can go through. But if he did use performance enhancement drugs to have an advantage, then he's gonna pay the price for it. But I know a lot of boxers do it, and this is the way boxing is right now. But let's see what happens. I'm hoping that Subriel Matias gets exonerated and the fight could continue. I mean, that's your choice, man. Over here, they're asking these crazy questions. I'm not going to read it. That's your choice. That one for Suda, that is your choice if you want to be what you say in the comments right here. I'm not going to even give too much weight on those comments. But subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Remember, this is a boxing channel. I talk about different things. I also talk about life experiences, positive, be your best version of yourself. Don't let anybody ever deter your confidence and pursue your goals because of whatever they feel they couldn't achieve in their life. Always ascertain that in spite of what obstacles go your way, you surpass your obstacles and you become a better version of yourself so you can fulfill your goals. There's nothing impossible. Once you put your mind to something, you'll always achieve it. My channel has been growing and I'm getting a lot of subscribers, but I'm doing a lot of things with authenticity. I'm not doing anything for clickbait. I do real bait, and I call the facts. And if you say something that's not really based on facts, I'm going to call you out. I don't care what content creator you are, but there's a lot of content creators out there that are just trying to create shock value, but they're not trying to give you real value and real authentic, great content for you to be engaged with and information that you need to know about in boxing. They're not doing that. They're just doing the clickbait and shock value. So yeah, I'm doing the real content that's giving you the best quality possible, and I'm calling out all those people, all those content creators that want to use information that's not really based on fact. You want to call out Subriel Matias and say stupid things like that he signed an exclusive deal with Eddie Hearns and Eddie Hearns kicked him out. That's a stupid comment, and it has no no merit, and you should always speak your facts before you actually make a comment. You should always gather your facts before you put information out, because you're misleading the boxing public and the fans that really need to hear the truth and the real information. Punch Drunk. So get your facts straight, Punch Drunk. Don't give information just for clickbait. Say the truth, get your facts together. This is Tony Also Knows Boxing. You're tuning into my channel. You heard it here first. Tony Also Knows Boxing. I'm also promoting Puerto Rican boxing for Puerto Rico. I interviewed Abisael Cotto. I interviewed Stephanie Pinheiro. I interviewed Malik Quinones, who actually gave Juanita Lopez all he could handle. They gave the victory to Juanita Lopez, but Malik Quinones won. I interviewed him. I also interviewed Joey Borrero, Felix Tito Trinidad's cousin, and I'm supposed to interview him again. He has a fight on December 20th. It's already been confirmed, so he's going to get back to me, and he said that he's going to give me an interview when he's ready. And yes, I have a lot of great interviews. Check them out. I got many interviews, and I want you to check it out on my previous videos that I put out on YouTube. Tony Also Knows Boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Yes. Happy Friday. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning into the channel. Danny Hub, Daniel B767. Happy Friday. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning into the channel. Subscribe to the channel. Tony Also Knows Boxing. Rashid Hossein said hi. How you doing, Rashid Hossein? Thanks for tuning into my channel. Subscribe to that channel. Click the like button, subscribe, and tell everybody about Tony Also Knows Boxing. And check out my interviews with all the boxers from Puerto Rico that are going to be champions. They're on Universal Promotion. And Abisael Cotto is going to fight Felix Caraballo. It's a really good test for him on November 22nd, this Saturday. It's going to be on a different fight card from Puerto Rico. And it's going to be seen through Triller TV. And 60 countries are going to be able to watch it. It's going to be televised through Puerto Rico. And Universal Promotion is the biggest boxing promotion in Puerto Rico. And they're going to televise it in Ruben Rodriguez Coliseum. And this is going to be a great event, because it's going to have Juanma Lopez versus Gallo the Producer, an influencer, the main event. But that's going to give visibility to the undercard, all the great prospects from Puerto Rico. Manuel Febus, 1-0 with 1 KO. What's his name? Jackie Gomez, who is 13-0 with 10 KOs. He's the Intercontinental WBA champion. And Stephanie Pinheiro's I think she's the WBA interim champion. And she's undefeated, 9-0 with 3 KOs. I interviewed her as well. And Abisael Cotto, he is 9-0 with 8 KOs in the 130 weight class division. And he's going to fight Felix Caraballo. He's only been stopped by Raymond Ford and Shakur Stevenson. So that's a really good test for him. He's very durable, and he's going to show that boxing in Puerto Rico is alive and well, and we got to support boxing from Puerto Rico. And I am the one that promotes the boxing movement of Puerto Rico, and I'm going to meet up with them in Puerto Rico when I go there, God willing, December next month. And they got a lot of surprises for me. Stephanie Pinheiro says she's going to make me some pernil. And Abisael Cotto said he's going to take me out to eat. Those are like family members as well. But I'm not biased. I call it for what it is. Just because I'm close to you, I'm not going to be biased and say, oh, they could beat this fighter. I'm just going to root for them. But I'm going to be real in who I think is going to win. But I think in the 130 weight class division, we have Oshiki Foster fighting Stephen Fulton. He's going to be a unification, and I think the unification fight is going to be on the undercard of Pitbull Cruz versus Lamont Roach, if I'm not mistaken, on December 6th. But yeah, I think Abisael Cotto is the future of the 130 weight class division, and I believe that Devin Haney, the fight with Devin Haney and Brian Norman in November 22nd, which is going to take place on the same day that Abisael Cotto fights on the undercard of Juanma Lopez versus Gallo the Producer, is going to be taking place on the same day. And you got Stephanie Pinheiro fighting somebody from, I think, from Argentina. I forgot the person's name, but she's going to fight for a title soon next year. And Yanquier Rivera, I also interviewed him as well. He's going to fight for the Jonathan Boma Gonzalez, another Puerto Rican, on January. So we got a lot of things happening in boxing. I think Brian Norman is going to knock out Devin Haney. That's what I see. That's my prediction. Yeah, that's what I got. But yeah, Subriel Matias, hopefully the fight, he gets exonerated and he actually comes out negative in the B side of his test. So if he comes up negative in the B side of his test, the fight will go on January 10th. So he has 10 days till December 1st to actually see if he gets exonerated and if his blood work comes out negative. So the blood work of his A test of VADA came out positive. So yeah, so I'm just hoping that he gets exonerated and vindicated, because Puerto Rican boxing is doing great, and the promotion, Fresh Production Boxing, they actually beat an elite company like Matchroom and outbidded them. They put more money in, and I feel that this is a slap in the face of Subriel Matias and Puerto Rican boxing promotion if they actually suspend him. So I hope that he doesn't get suspended, and we keep slapping Eddie Hearns in the face, and people that doubt Puerto Rican boxing is alive, and people that don't think that Subriel Matias is who he is. And I believe Subriel Matias is the truth, and I don't know all the details. I'm still trying to get my facts, and I believe that I'll give you some updates on what's happening behind the scenes and why he came out positive with the first blood test, but he still has the chance to come out negative with the second part of his B-side blood work. So let's just keep our fingers crossed, and Puerto Rican boxing's alive, and we want Subriel Matias to beat Dalton Smith and slap Eddie Hearns in the face with another victory, because we already slapped Eddie Hearns in the face with Fresh Production Boxing, Puerto Rican boxing promotion, outbidding Matchroom, and this is something that was never done. It's the first time in history that a Puerto Rican boxing promotion brings boxing outside of Puerto Rico and brings it to the Barclays Center, and they actually control the whole event. It's like, that's what happened with Matchroom when he fought Liam Pardo. They made a deal with Subriel Matias, so Subriel Matias doesn't win the fight, and they make the fighter from a Matchroom promotion actually bring their fighters up. And the politics of boxing, they make sure and ascertain that Matchroom fighters win the fight, so that way his fighters look good and they get to fight the champion. And they do that with the lower echelon promotions, and they thought that Fresh Production Boxing was a lower echelon, but they proved themselves. And he told Fresh Production Boxing that if they lose the fight, to make sure that they lose the fight, but so that fighter could look good. And then they actually said, if you lose the fight, we're going to give you your own pay-per-view in Puerto Rico. And that's exactly what happened with Subriel Matias. After he lost to Liam Pardo, they gave him the opportunity to have his own pay-per-view in Puerto Rico before he was ranked to fight Alberto Puello again for the WBC belt. So this is the boxing politics that takes place when you have a small promotion. But Durango of Fresh Production Boxing proved himself, proved his worth, and proved just how viable Subriel Matias is. And when he got in that position to be more of a presence in the boxing promotion, he actually surprised Eddie Hearns Matchroom by outbidding them. They thought they were going to actually outbid Fresh Production Boxing, but they weren't able to do it because they didn't realize just how smart Juan Durango of Fresh Production Boxing is, and he used that opportunity to have his own pay-per-view for Subriel Matias, which I think they offered that to him, Eddie Hearns. So they played a little politics behind the scenes and told him to not win the Liam Pardo fight so they could give Subriel Matias his own pay-per-view. And that's exactly what happened. Subriel Matias has alluded to that in a previous interview, saying when you're a Puerto Rican, I'm back. And Subriel Matias has alluded to that. And he said that in a previous interview after he lost to Liam Pardo, he says that when you're a Puerto Rican boxer and you're under a promotion that's not as elite as the other ones like Matchroom, they exploit the Puerto Rican boxers to make the boxers that are an Eddie Hearns Matchroom promotion look bigger and bring them up by exploiting the boxers that are Puerto Rican under a smaller promotional company. And that's exactly what happened. But they slept on Fresh Production Boxing. Fresh Production Boxing has made a name for themselves, and they actually circumvented a lot of the obstacles that Eddie Hearns and Turkey Al-Sheikh was trying to put Fresh Production under, being that they have a lot of influence. So they were trying to take the fight to Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, and they were going to have more advantages because they had control of the narrative and they could pay off the judges. So they figured Fresh Production made a power move and actually outbidded, Matchroom Productions, Matchroom Boxing, and was able to have control of the whole event and bring it to Brooklyn. They were originally going to bring it to Puerto Rico, but they said there's more opportunity in Brooklyn. So they made a statement by outbidding Matchroom, a Puerto Rican boxing promotion, and bringing it to the Barclays Center. So I just hope everything works out really well, and Subriel Matias vindicates himself, and everything comes out well for him. Subscribe to Tony Also Knows Boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Subscribe to that channel. Click that like button. Don't be afraid to subscribe to my channel. Only the brave, the intelligent, and the ones that are not afraid to hear the truth subscribe to my channel and like my channel. They're not afraid to tune into my channel. They go to my channel because they know that I'm going to speak the facts, and I'm going to give them the real facts. Not like these other content creators that want to say things that are shock value, but they just want to just use that as an opportunity to get more clicks and more subscribes based on negative comments that they got to say about Subriel Matias just because something negative happened, like Punch Drunk is doing. He's using the opportunity, he's using this negative outcome of Subriel Matias testing positive for Osterine to bring more clickbait and subscribers to his channel. But he doesn't like Subriel Matias. That's why he does that. But whenever it was something positive about Subriel Matias, he didn't even try to make a video about it, because he's about negativity when it comes to like bringing more people to his channel, more views, shock value. When it comes to Subriel Matias, he always has something negative to say, nothing positive. He didn't talk anything about Fresh Production Boxing, that they made history outbidding Matchroom, an elite company that was supposed to beat, Fresh Production Boxing in the purse bid. But ironically, we circumvented Fresh Production Boxing from Puerto Rico, actually made history and circumvented any of the traps that they were trying to put, the Matchroom was trying to put Fresh Production Boxing in. But now they're in a position of power and influence, and Juan Urango has experience in the music world, in the reggaeton world, so he knows he knows about the business of music, and boxing is something that he's really doing really good in, and he's actually proven to people that he's a force to be reckoned with. Fresh Production Boxing in Puerto Rico is a force to be reckoned with. Subscribe to that channel. Tony Also Knows Boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Subscribe to that channel. Don't be afraid. Click that like button and subscribe. Don't be afraid to subscribe to Tony Also Knows Boxing. I keep it real. I don't care if you hate.